guys, welcome back. My name is Ashanti Aline and welcome to my channel. So this week we're going to actually get into my book, Within. Um, we're going to be going over the first chapter, which is titled, What Did I Miss? Now, in the first chapter of my book, it's detailing the account of the beginning of my spiritual journey when I first discovered that I was depressed and vulnerable, and that I had a lot of childhood traumas, that I was codependent. I had a whole lot of stuff going on. So let me rewind a little bit. In 2013, my mother died from colon cancer. Now, prior to my mother getting sick, we had a very close relationship. It was kind of a love-hate relationship. Not love-hate, but we had a lot of issues, but it never interfered with the love that we had for each other. So we did a lot of bickering, but I was always there for her. She was always there for me and also my children. So when my mother passed away, I had a lot of wounds that was related to our relationship stemming from my childhood that we had never dealt with together. Now, when mothers and daughters, or even mothers and sons, just mothers and children, when you have these issues, you never think to yourself, well, maybe we better, clear this up before she passes or he passes or whatever. You just think that you have all the time in the world and that things are fine. You never really take a look at what's really going on in the dynamics of our parent-child relationships. I know with my children, if there was a time when, I thought everything was okay and I really found out that it wasn't okay. So we have these relationships with our parents that sometimes can be very codependent. I am the oldest child out of my parents' children, and a lot of responsibilities growing up was left on me because my mother, normally worked 2 jobs. So I had to grow up pretty quickly and start to help out, taking care of my brother and my sister. So I had a lot of resentment for that, which I believe I expressed, through heated arguments, but never a sit down and let's just clear the air and talk about our feelings type of conversation. My resentments would really only surface if we were having some type of issue. So anyway, let me get back to the story. So when my mother passed away in 2013, it left me with a lot of open wounds that I could no longer heal with her. So I had to learn how to start healing them myself. Now, when she first passed away, I kind of went numb. And that started when I first found out that she was sick. So I started to kind of shut down emotionally because I knew what was coming was going to be really tough for us to deal with. So I kind of numbed my emotions and I just kind of got to work with, what needed to be done to kind of wrap up her affairs before she passed away. And I was also working full-time and going to school full-time in my last semester of college. So it was really at a time when I was already stressed and under a lot of pressure that all of this happened. So after her funeral and everything, I was still kind of numb, but I was starting to feel kind of weird and strange. and I started to cry a lot. And I got to a point where I couldn't get out of bed. I was really depressed, which I didn't know at the time. So after 3 weeks of being off from work, I went back to work, and I tried to just, get back into the swing of things, which was really difficult because all I could think of was, I no longer have a living mother. I used to talk to my mom every day. I could no longer pick up the phone and, give her a call. And even if it was, an argument, I would rather have an argument with her than not being able to communicate with her at all. And this was starting to build up. When I would be sitting at work working, people would say, they would notice the tears in my eyes, just trying to push through. And if they stopped and said, "Are you okay?" I would start crying, and I couldn't stop. I would get sent home from work. Got sent home from work a couple times for not being able to control my emotions. I realized that shortly after that, I was getting worse because I didn't know what was going on with me, and then I started to, go into a tailspin because I had no idea what was going on with me. So I ended up needing to take some time off of work because I couldn't function. I went to see my primary doctor because I felt like I needed some type of medical help. I just didn't know what was going on with me. So during that appointment, I was talking to her, and, she was just asking me, what was going on with me. Had I been through something lately? Because after all my test results came in, she couldn't find anything physically wrong with me. So that's when I shared with her about my mother dying 3 months prior, and she told me about her father passing, and how she dealt with it, and that she was depressed and she couldn't function. And so she said that I was probably going through the same types of emotions, because losing a parent is a pain that it's a hole in your heart that no one else can really feel. So it's like when that parent is no longer with you, you always have that space in your heart for that missing parent. So after that, she recommended that I start therapy. So against my better judgment, like I had one at that time, I agreed. But I still kind of drug my feet a little with it. I knew I needed to do it, but I was scared because I had never known anyone that went to therapy. I didn't have anyone to talk to about it. I just didn't know what to expect, besides what I had seen on television. So I kind of drug my feet a little bit with it, but while I was dragging my feet, things were getting worse for me. It got to the point where I couldn't even get out of bed. I couldn't, I just couldn't even hold a thought in my mind about what to do next. So I eventually found a lovely therapist, and he was nothing like I expected him to be. He actually, when I first got there, I had saw another female, and it just didn't click. Like I wasn't feeling it, and I don't think she was either. So just as I was about to grab my things and get up out of there, she asked me to follow her upstairs. And when I went upstairs, she introduced me to my therapist. And when I first met him, I felt a gentleness, a calmness coming from him. So I was kind of calming down a little bit because I was very emotional because I felt like she was playing games with me. But anyway, it was the best thing that could have ever happened. So when I met him, we talked briefly, but I was still a little, ready to go home. But I followed him to the room that he asked me to. And I just sat there and just observed what was going on. And I kept saying to myself, this is not going to work. You need to get out of here. Just as I was about to grab my purse and my coat, which I was holding like this, he touched me and he said, where are you going? And I was like, I don't think this is going to work. I'm getting ready to leave. And, he's like, listen, I get it. I said, this group therapy? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, well, there's no way I'm doing group therapy. Like, there's no way I'm laying all my cards out on the table for everybody in this room to hear and judge. So he said, why don't you just give it a chance? And if you don't like it, you don't have to come back. So I said, okay, I'll give it a chance. So I ended up giving it a chance, and it changed my life. Now, I did 3 weeks of therapy, which I normally went about 2 to 3 times a week for 6 weeks. And then I had to go back to work. Now, going through the therapy process changed my life, and I say that because my therapist was skilled enough in his profession to understand each person in the group and to treat them, even though we were in a group setting, to treat them individually. So even though we were all, in the same group therapy, everybody got what they needed. And we also got what we needed from each other. We was there to support each other, because when you're going through something like that, you just, unless someone else has been through it, they really can't understand where you're coming from. So that was great. We exchanged phone numbers, we just kept the support. We supported each other through the 6 weeks that we were in therapy. Now, after therapy, I felt great. I was no longer depressed. I could smile, I could eat. I was ready to go back to work because I felt like I should have been working and not, being home, being depressed. So I was kind of ready to go back, but I knew I needed to make some changes with my work situation. But other than that, I felt refreshed. I was ready. And then I started on the daunting task of telling everybody I knew how great therapy was and how they should try it. I still feel that way. I feel like sometimes we hold back expressing ourselves because we are afraid of, people judging us or telling our business. And in therapy, you don't have to worry about that. You can be as open and as honest as you need to be with your therapist, without the fear of rejection, judgment, or them, telling people what's going on with you. So I wholeheartedly recommend going to therapy. Now, if group therapy is not your thing, go to one-on-one therapy. But I can tell you from my experience, group therapy was the best for me, because I got to see and hear other people's stories and journeys that were similar to mine. So it kind of helped me to understand that I'm not alone in any of this. None of us are. We're not alone in any of this. And we need to, stick together and help each other heal. Now, after therapy is when I became aware that I was actually on a spiritual journey. Because when you're on a spiritual journey, things happen that you just can't explain. It's like you wake up one morning and you're in, a totally different atmosphere. Like you can't really put your finger on what's going on or what just happened. You just know something just shifted. So that's why I named the title "What Did I Miss?" Because when this happened to me, I was working at my dream job, living in my dream home. My kids were adults. I had 4 grandchildren. We all spent time together. Um, Things were, going great until my mother died, and then all these traumas came up, and that's when I found out, that I was very codependent. I would do anything that I possibly could to make someone else happy, or just make them feel good about themselves. I'm kind of like the champion of the people. I want everyone to be happy. If I could help, I would always jump in and help. So when all this happened to me, it was like the rug was snatched from under me. I lost everything, as you will read in the chapter. I ended up losing pretty much everything. I had to start over and rebuild my life. And I'm still rebuilding my life, but I'm just doing it in a way now that is not codependent and is the best for myself first, because numero uno of the spiritual journey, you learn that self-love is the best love, because you can't genuinely love anyone else if you don't love yourself. If you don't love yourself, any love that you're giving to anyone else is fake. It's fake love. So we don't do fake love over here in this community. So we want to get healed so that we can genuinely love from our heart. Because 2021 and beyond is going to be about heart connections. The mental connections are going to be are going to die out, because people are starting to wake up and realize, that they have been duped. So I had to learn how to take down my walls and let my heart love again, and just let it be open to love. Because when you've been through something as terrible as losing a parent, you just shut down. So after all that happened, now that I'm in the process of rebuilding, I want my foundation to be a healthy foundation. So I've learned to set boundaries. I've learned to take care of myself. I've learned to love myself, and I'm still learning day by day. But everything that I learn, I'm here to share with you guys. And if you are going through anything similar to what I went through, I'm just here to give you that extra boost, just to let you know that it's not uncommon what you're going through. We've all going through it, and at some point we all will go through it if you haven't been through it already. But stay strong, stay prayed up, and just self-love, and keep your balance. And so next week, I think that's what we're going to discuss, is balance. Because when all this happened to me, I was juggling everything: work, school, kids. I had no idea what balance even was or meant. I know what the word means, but as far as life and spirituality, I had no idea what balance was. So that was one of the first things that I worked on, was balancing out myself and getting grounded. So I think next week, that'll be a good topic to discuss the grounding, balance, and just keeping yourself grounded, because that gives you what you need to be able to get through these challenges. So I thank you guys for coming to the channel and listening. And also, if you don't have it already, run over to Amazon and get a copy of my book. And if you haven't read the first chapter already, What Did I Miss? Please go and read that. It's pretty much my backstory. And I will see you guys next week. Thank you. Bye.